So I've rewatched Nancy Drew, shall we say, a lot of times? It's a good show for it. Not only are the characters great, and now I know where all the jump scares are. Can't get me now, Lucy. But one of the best parts of rewatching was realizing just how many bits of foreshadowing and cool little details I completely missed my first time around. So I thought it'd be fun to throw together a video of some of my favorites of those little details that you may not have noticed while watching Nancy Drew. And if you did notice them, well, then we get to appreciate them together. Obviously, from the nature of this video, spoilers abound, and this is your only warning because the very first one is a spoiler. Episode 1, Nancy's Birthday. In the pilot, Nancy mentions to Bess that she's recording the fireworks because, as long as she can remember, she and her parents have always watched them together as a family. It's a bittersweet detail that highlights the hole in Nancy's life where her mom used to be, but later in the season, once Carson reveals the big secret, we realize why her parents made such a point of celebrating that day with her. It's Nancy's real birthday.
We were watching fireworks.
Also in the pilot...
If only I could get myself a new father, too!
Oh, that's fun. Episode 2, The Blood Bucket. One of Horseshoe Bay's many traditions. George kicks over a bucket of seawater that turns to blood, meaning she's marked to die in the coming year. She tries to brush it off as a prank, but the shot right before she actually kicks it over proves this really is supernatural. The liquid in the bucket is still clear until George knocks it over. Episode 7, The Least Haunted Place in Horseshoe Bay. George's mom, Victoria Fan, can see spirits, which is often not a fun experience. She tends to deal with this by getting very drunk, which leads to her either getting picked up by the cops for public intoxication, or failing that, wandering into the station herself and falling asleep on the bench. She says it's because it's the least haunted building in Horseshoe Bay. Just an interesting note until the very next episode, where we learn that Chief McGinnis is not only aware of the spirit world, but seems to have a very respectful relationship with it. It would make sense that the station he runs would be so unhaunted. No word on whether that continued once he left. Season 2, Episode 8, Flatlining George. After Nancy and George have learned about how the blood shroud works, Nancy casually mentions that it would be a bad idea to try to get rid of Odette by basically stopping George's heart and resurrecting her.
Have you seriously been thinking about flatlining me?
Not seriously.
But she was considering it. At the top of the episode, Nancy was drawing an idea web while she talked with George, and if you look closely, flatline and resurrect was on there as a possibility. There's also a brief timeline of how we got here, and some other ideas that include holy water, checking with Hannah, and talking to Victoria about an exorcism. Season 2, Episode 12, Incoming Comet. George's sister Jessie mentions to her that Odette has been helping their little sister Ted track a comet that's meant to fly by the following week. It's a throwaway comment in a moment about George's relationship with her sisters, but it's also a neat way to plant the seeds for when Thomas Swift shows up a few episodes later on the hunt for a piece that broke off of that very comet. Season 2, Episode 14, Planting Characters Before They Become Relevant. This is something the show likes to do that I appreciate. Side characters that are important to the plot don't just suddenly show up in the episode they're in. They'll get a few shorter appearances in other episodes so that they feel more integrated into the world. Of course, they did this with Grant before he turned out to be Ace's brother. But I want to point out two characters that become important in episode 214, the one where Nancy is trapped in the police station and tasked with solving the cold case murder of Dolores Barrett. We're briefly introduced to Officer Hampton in the Less Stress episode, but she gets a little more focus in episode 213, where she gets a little mini-arc. She starts off basically representing the town judging Nancy for recently recanting her testimony against Everett Hudson. But by the end of the episode, after Nancy has proved herself, Hampton comes around to respect her again, telling her,
I know sometimes the ends justify the means.
It's a concerning thing for an officer of the law to say, but it makes sense when it's revealed in the very next episode that she helped cover up Dolores' murder all those years ago.
You're the cops.
After the case is solved, Nancy figures out that it's the Reverend who was responsible for staging the forced investigation. We saw her twice before at the police station, once a few episodes before this with who we will learn was Dolores' mother, and at the beginning of this episode, alone now that Dolores' mother has passed away. Both times it's so chaotic that these appearances are really easy to overlook. But even more importantly, all the way back in 204, 10 episodes before it matters, we can find the reason why she chose Nancy at all. The Reverend is there in the background when Nancy starts passionately defending Odette over what was done to her, And even when Aristotle tries dismissing her with the official story, Nancy sticks to revealing the truth, just as she is tasked to do for Dolores. Season 3, Episode 1, Nick Running Away. When Nancy's giving her speech about deciding to grow where she's planted, all her friends and her dads look proud and happy for her. Or in Ace's case, like the sun has come out from behind the clouds. Everyone, that is, except for Nick, who we see looking thoughtful after Nancy says,
It's my home and my heart, and I'm not going to run from it anymore.
This makes sense once we start getting into Nick's arc for the season. As he opens up the youth center, we'll see that running away from his home in Florida is on Nick's mind. Like Nancy, Nick had expectations of a great future that got derailed by tragedy. But while Nancy's made progress processing her own grief over the life she could have lived, Nick hasn't let himself stop to do that yet.
Which one do you think helped you process your trauma?
Not sure.
And one last one for now. Season 2 to Season 3, The Abandoned Orphanage. In the second episode of Season 2, Carson tells Ace about Fernwood Orphanage that mysteriously closed down while he was a kid. It's relevant to the plot at the time because the Aglaika victims from the 70s grew up there, but you'd be forgiven for forgetting about the mystery of why exactly the orphanage shut down, because it is left hanging for almost 2 entire seasons. It isn't until the second to last episode of Season 3 when we finally get a flashback that shows, like so many other things, it was Temperance Hudson's fault. And that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know your favorite details from the show that I didn't mention. I love finding this stuff. Thanks for watching.